All right.
We are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Winephabet Street. It is hard to believe that we have been doing this for 52 months because today we are on the letter Z of the second season and we have Zweigelt for you today. And not only do we have Zweigelt, but we are talking Austria today. And I am so thrilled. So we have Christina Artner-Netzl, which I'm hoping I'm saying correctly. All right. All right. Perfect. With us. And she's from the Netzl winery in Austria. And we are going to be getting down and dirty with Zweigelt today. So for those of you who do not know me, I am Lori. I am your co-host. I am a UC Davis winemaking graduate. I am a WSET level 2 graduate, champagne specialist, Côte de Rhône specialist, and my husband and I own Dracaena Wines in Paso Robles, where we specialize in Cabernet Franc. And my co-host with the mostest is Deb Gioquindo.
Hi, everybody, and we're coming to you from all three different time zones too.
Yes, we are.
Morning, afternoon, and evening. So I'm Debbie Gioquindo. I am known as the Hudson Valley wine goddess. I am a wine blogger, wine writer. I'm a certified specialist of wine, a wine location specialist in port and champagne, and most recently a wine sherry. What is it? Wine sherry. Certified sherry wine specialist. I had to get
there you go.
There you go. I'm also author of Tapping the Hudson Valley Day Trips and Weekend Itineraries to visit the Hudson Valley wine region. And I'm a partner in a restaurant in North Wildwood, New Jersey called Trio North Wildwood. We're set to reopen for the season April 1st. So I think that's about it for me. I can't take on any more things. And I'm co-host of Winephabet Street. So I want to really welcome Christina. We are so excited to have you on the show, and I'm so excited to learn more about Zweigelt. Am I pronouncing that right?
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. Christina, just tell us a little bit, about you, how you got into wine. If you came from a wine growing family, what was your aha wine moment?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. It's so great to be part of this today. I'm Christina Artner-Netzl, as you perfectly introduced me. And I'm running a family winery together with my parents in the very eastern part of Austria. So we are actually on the border to Hungary, Slovakia, so the very end of Austria, where mainly red wine is grown. And I grew up in this winery or farm, and always wanted to get a winemaker or a wine farmer. Actually, it was one of my most or biggest dreams as a kid. So finally made it, and now I'm here running the winery together with my parents, and it's so great to be part of the Zweigelt today because it's our main grape variety, and we are really focusing on the Zweigelt wines because these are the most typical wines and typical grape variety we are growing here.
Well, we're excited. And before we get into it, I have to give a huge shout out to Trink Magazine because they were the ones who actually got us connected. So thank you to them. And before we clink, we have to bring Elmo on. So it is time for Elmo. Deb, I don't know what's going on with Elmo today.
W, X, Y, and Z. I set my ABCs. Come on,
I don't know what's going on with Elmo.
That's kind of weird.
We're just gonna Elmo. You gotta
Cut.
cut. I don't know.
I don't know what happened there.
That was the weirdest. We think Elmo is possessed, Christina. There's always something that goes wrong with Elmo, but that was a new one. I don't know what was.
I had a death in the family recently, so maybe that's my sister-in-law.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I can let me just try it one more time.
Okay.
That was much better.
All
right. I don't know what happened.
That's bizarre.
A little glitch to start off with,
Yes.
but all is good. Wonderful, wonderful. All right. Now for the fun part. We have 2 Zweigelts with us today, thanks to Christina. So here are our 2. And it is Reed Heidecker Zweigelt and Ruben Carnuntum Zweigelt. And this one, the Reed Heidecker, is actually a 2016. And the Carnuntum, hopefully I'm saying these correctly, is 2019. So, Christina, which one should we start off with to start the conversation?
We are starting with the Rubin Carnuntum.
Okay.
Which is our most typical wine for the region. So it really shows the typicity of Zweigelt and our origin, which is called Carnuntum.
Oh, all right. Okay. Oh,
Nice.
Yeah.
This is my first time tasting Zweigelt from Austria.
Yes. Mine too.
So did you ever have any other Zweigelt from other origins?
Yeah, actually, recently I had a Finger Lakes, New York one.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
And I'm going to have to ask you about this maybe later. I have this bottle I found in my cellar, a 2001.
Sepp Moser.
That we just kind of forgot about that.
Oh.
This
is beautiful.
But
This is very dark flavors, dark chocolate.
yeah.
It's got a little bit of kind of dusty earth to it. Like minerality. The tannins are kind of there. But it's
soft.
2019.
They're
There's yeah. I love when I can drink at 10 a.m. in the morning and not get
I got a lot
for
of plum. I had some plum right at
dark.
first.
Yeah.
Some really plummy fruit.
Yeah. So we'll get into the wines a little bit more later. So first of all, on the website, it says that wine is enjoyment and culture, and it's a way of life for you. So has it always been that way? Wine, enjoyment, how is that incorporated into the winery?
Yes, actually, yes. So my parents started with a mixed farm. They started with some, agricultural land, wheat, corn, sugar beets. They had pigs and so real mixed farm and a little bit of wine. And they really focused on the wine production, and they focused on high quality wines. They really invested a lot into the wine production, and for them it's always been really important to have so wine is not only wine himself, it's always part of culture, part of feeling, part of family, or part of a meal. And this is actually how the full idea behind our wines was developed, to show the origin, to show our culture, to show what is growing here, what is typical Canutum, what is typical for our region, and also the tradition we have in combination with the meals and the whole full life here in our region. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. That is. So the winery, the way it says it on your website, Winery, Franz, and Christina Netzl, and then your wine label says Netzl. What is, like, you know, how should people really look at the name of the winery? Is it Netzl Winery, or is it Winery, Franz, and Christina Netzl?
Yeah, Netzl is our family name, so that's the name of the family, that's the name of the winery. But as in all small countrysides, there are more families called Netzl, and this is why we have the first name parents on the label too. To have significant, to show who is the winemaker actually. So Franz and Christina are my parents. And I'm Christina, a little bit complicated, I know, but that's why the winery is named Franz and Christina. Mm-hmm.
Got it. That's really interesting. I never even would.
She's Christina.
Hi, Christina. Very nice to meet you.
Yes. And is Zweigelt, you had mentioned that a little bit before, that Zweigelt is your specialty?
Yes, absolutely. So more than 50% of our production is Zweigelt.
Okay, and what other wines do you produce?
We have 1/3 of our production is still white wine. So Austria is known for white wines. Our region is located in the very eastern part, so we have lots of climatically influenced from Hungary and all the southeast parts of Europe. So we have warmer influences, and this is why we are growing mainly red wines, but still 1/3 of the production is white wine, like Grüne Veltliner, the most typical Austrian grape variety. But we do Chardonnay, we do Pinot Blanc, Weißburgunder. All these varieties are very important for us. And then we have on the red side, the main grape is Zweigelt. We do some blends with international grape varieties like Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Syrah. We have St. Laurent, which is the most traditional Austrian grape variety, or one of the oldest grape varieties we have here. So there is more different grape varieties we are growing, because the region itself is very hilly, and we have so many different soils and microclimates in the region, with a big forest and more exposed vineyards. And this is how we are deciding which grapes or which varieties we are planting there. When it's a cooler place, we prefer having the white wines there, and when it's a warmer place, we do the red wines.
Okay, awesome. And now, while we were stalking the website and checking you guys all out or whatever, I thought that it was really, really important that you said that as wine growers, we are allowed to accompany our vines, grapes, and wines, support and strengthen them as much as possible without wanting to change them. You take care of the fruit, and the fruit takes care of you. And that is, in one sentence, like to me, the perfect ideology of what makes a quality wine is that you recognizing that it all comes from this fruit, and you want to nurture it without dominating it. So is that what's in your thought process as you're making the wine?
Yes, definitely. So as mentioned, we want to show our origin. The wine is grown in the vineyards. This is the most important influence on the grapes and on the wine characteristic. And our absolute goal is to show this origin and to show the characteristic and the typicity we are sourcing from our vineyards, from our soil, and bring it to the bottle finally.
Beautiful. So we have a listener or a viewer, Patricia, and she's saying that I love Zweigelt and I'm happy to meet a new producer to look for in her New York market. So thank you for coming on, and we're excited to be able to introduce you to Patricia. Patricia to Christine.
Yes. You had mentioned on your website, you had mentioned that you've invested in a lot of sustainability and carbon neutral production. Why do you feel that is really important?
Yeah, we are working certified organic. For us, it's the most important thing is to keep the soil and the plants and the wines in a healthy condition, and sustainability is the biggest goal or the most important factor in all farming aspects. You cannot how to say the soil or the ground you're working with is the only capital. You have to use it for years and for ages, and this is why you have to take care of it. And if you do not do that, you will lose it, or you will at least change it quite a lot.
And so before we get into a little bit more location, because I think I could be completely wrong, but I think the big difference between these two Zweigelts is the location of which you're getting the fruit from. So as we tie into the understanding of where you're located, can we tie that into how the Zweigelt is? So I just have to say it because I'm going to mangle it, and I just think it's an awesome looking word. Gattelsprun?
Gattelsprun, yeah.
Oh, I wasn't that bad. I wasn't that far off. Woohoo! Pat myself on the back there. Okay. And then the first wine we opened is the Carnuntum. And so I want, if you can repeat what that means, because I thought it was an area.
It is an area, yes.
Oh, okay.
I thought so too, yeah.
That's the region, yeah. So Rubin Carnuntum actually is kind of the brand of our region, showing the most typical regional wine which is produced here.
Okay.
Carnuntum is the name of the wine growing region. It is one of the smallest regions in Austria. So in total, we just have 900 hectares of vineyards here in the region called Carnuntum. So it is really tiny, yes. But it is unique because there's just a very small production of Carnuntum wines. And the name comes from an ancient Roman city. It was the most southern Roman city, located directly on the border to the Germans on the Danube River. And it was one of the most important cities in the Roman Empire, in the Pannonian Roman Empire, to save the border. They settled people there. It was like 70,000 inhabitants, which was very, very big in this time. It had the size of London that time. And it was a really important city for the Romans. But then they left they lost the border, to say, and they left the whole city. So the Romans left the region. The name stayed here. We have the excavations of the Roman Empire. It's a really interesting history here in our region too. And of course, the Romans enforced the wine production, because for them it's always been really important to have good food and good wine with them. And they tried to grow it here, or they at least enforced the wine growing here. And so that's where the name Carnuntum comes from. It's actually an old Celt word, or Celts. How do you say Celts or Celts? I'm not sure.
Depending on who you're talking to, it's Celt, but many people say Celt.
Okay, so Karn means stone. So we are the regions with the stones, and they are just putting the Roman ending untum on it. So this is where the name was sourced from. And the Rubin Carnuntum, to come back to the wine, is showing the most typical wine of our region. So our most important grape variety is Zweigelt, and this is really showing the most typical character of the wines here. And with this brand, we are a group of around 40 producers of 40 wineries. Everybody is producing a Rubin Canuntum as the most important regional wine to show them the typicity of our origin. So it's Zweigelt. You have the Zweigelt fruit, which is the very dark cherry, but it is a fresh cherry fruit. It's not too cooked or too jammy. There is always some freshness behind it, and there's lots of pepper and spice on the palate at the ending, like white pepper, a little bit earthy notes, like fresh leaves and so on. And it is a very fruit-driven grape variety, which you can enjoy with so many different food. So many different meals. It is a very flexible wine to say. So you can pair it with so many different dishes, which I really like and really enjoy. And you can produce different styles with the grape because it's showing the soil conditions quite nice. You can have, when you have a very nutritious soil, you get a little bit higher yields and the wines are more fruit driven, lighter. You can even drink them a little bit chilled. It's something really enjoyable. The tannins are really soft and velvety on the palate. But when you have a special vineyard, maybe older wines, drier, leaner soils and more special climate, then the wines are getting more characterful, more powerful, more multi-layered and more complex and therefore more interesting. But if you want to show the pictures I sent, because there you can see the grape. I chose a few pictures from the grape variety and the vineyard, and just to give you an idea what it looks like.
Here we go. Okay. Just tell me when to flip
Can you see? Yeah, can you see it already?
Yes.
Everybody? Yeah. So that's the Zweigelt grape on the last picture. You see, it's quite a big grape, quite a nice sponge. So you can have pretty high yields, which means that you have to work very hard in the vineyard to get high qualities out of this grape variety. Otherwise, it wouldn't be that ripe fruit driven and juicy. On the next slide, there's a vineyard, Zweigelt vineyard. So the hand work is the most important part during the summer session for us. We do lots of green harvest. We work with the leaves to get sunny and airy conditions in the grape zone, and of course, finally the harvest by hand to have the control of every single bunch before bringing it to the cellar. Can you go to the next one? Yeah, here you see the harvested grapes, so they are quite dark. Very typical.
They're beautiful.
The very typical color of the Zweigelt wine is the purple color. So you always find, especially when it's a young Zweigelt wine, that the color is very deep purpley red. And the next slide is, here you see the purple color again. So they are destamped here. We bring them to the tank. You see the whole berries for the fermentation.
Right.
The next one. Here it is pressed. So again, very purple color. Just to show you the color.
There you go.
That's a nice picture, isn't it?
Yes.
I love it.
So you can see that's the real Zweigelt color, actually.
So for those who are listening on the podcast, it's just a picture of somebody's hand that obviously has had their hand in the Zweigelt grapes as they were being fermented, and it's purple.
Purple.
It is an awesome shot.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
And that's the hillside. We are growing the wines, so you see it's a combination of very sunny exposed vineyards with lots of forest surrounding them. So we have warmer impacts and cooler impacts in our region. This is why you can find the cooler stylistics in the wines sometimes, and sometimes they are warmer and hotter and leaner. So depending on where they are or where the vineyards are actually. Can go on. Next one, yeah. In the cellar, we use big barrels and small barrels for the production of the Zweigelt. And of course, it is varies due to this characteristic of the wine we finally want to bring to the bottles. There's less oak in the Rubin Carnuntum than in the single vineyard wine we will taste later. Yeah, we can go on.
So the wine that we are drinking now, the 2019, how long did it stay in oak?
10 months.
10 months. And what is it, neutral oak or is it 1 or 2 years?
Not really toasted, but they are old barrels, so they are up to 7 years old. It's more important is the aging in the small vats. So there's a different aging in the smaller vats than in the bigger ones. This is why we're using them, but they are really old, so we don't want to have any hard influences coming from the oak to the wine. So here you can see the Rubin Carnuntum again, as mentioned, the dark cherry and the white pepper aromas, which you can find in almost every Zweigelt, I think. Yeah, it's really the most important wine we are producing. That's the head.
Wow.
Yeah, very
which
cool.
used to be the entrance into the Roman city called Carnuntum. Now it is in the middle of fields, as you can see. So the excavations and yeah, just parts left of the old Roman city, which is a very important historic history behind the region. 1,500 years older than America, my father.
Yeah, we are young, man. We are young.
Oh, yeah.
America was not founded.
America was founded at the time. Yeah, it was 100 after Christ, so pretty long ago. This is the
Before we get into that one, can I just ask the DOC Carnuntum is actually really young. Right,
Yeah.
so it's just 2019 was when it became a DAC. So it's so tiny. You said there were 900 hectares total.
Yeah.
So there's 40 wineries that are producing Zweigelt from that region. So lots of little blocks.
Yes, yeah. So it is all very small structured. Maybe you can finish the presentation. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Then anyway, that's the Heidelberg vineyard, the vineyard of the last wine we are tasting. Then later on,
Okay.
We
can come back to Deb. Can come back.
Yeah,
to this
I
too
can
when
come
we
back to
taste.
it when we talk about it.
Yeah. So yes, the DAC system in Carnuntum was just developed 3 years ago. We are very small structured, yes. There is no big winery in our region. There's no cooperative. So we are all small family-run wineries, actually, which is, I think, very good. So it is really unique for our region, these small structured wineries and productions. The DAC system in Austria was just invented 15 years ago, and it's a very young system to focus on origin. And at the very beginning, when they started, they really wanted to focus on just one wine. So the style of one region should be shown through one single wine. And we haven't been really happy about this because our region is bringing so many different wine styles, starting from white and red wines, starting from the Rubin Carnuntum, the fruit-driven lighter Zweigelt style, to the single vineyard wines, which are very complex and full-bodied. So we cannot show the full characteristic of our region just through one wine. And this is why we tried to develop a system which is suitable for our region, Carnuntum, and we formed the pyramid of origin, like you know it from everywhere in the old world, studying regional wine, village wine, and the single vineyard wines on top. We even have certified Premier Cru vineyards, since 2017 here, which are the most important vineyards, of course, in our region. And we integrated our wines into this pyramid of origin, and this is now our DAC system here in the region. And in Austria, it is still in progress, all the DAC systems, so some things changed again. The regions, some of the regions still didn't invent the DAC for them, for the region. And I think we are now in a good way. We just started it for the next generations. Of course, it is not for me, it is not for our generation, it is done for the next generations, because it takes quite a long time to invent such new systems. In Austria, everybody is really keen on varieties. They want to drink variety instead of origin, which is not the most important thing for us, and we try to change this now. This is why we call the wine Rubin Carnuntum as our region, so Carnuntum the region, and not just Zweigelt as the grape variety, because we think the origin is the most important thing of a wine.
That's incredible.
Yeah, that really is. And I like how, I like the pyramid structure, the single vineyard, and everything. It really, you can identify what's in your glass.
Yeah, here's my pyramid.
Oh, yeah.
So we integrated the most important varieties into the pyramid. Of course, it's Zweigelt, but we also allow blends where Zweigelt is the base. So in a blend where at least 2/3 of the wine is Zweigelt or Blaufränkisch, is still integrated into the pyramid. So you can add some Merlot or some Syrah or some St. Laurent or whatever you like, and blend it with the Zweigelt. It's still Carnuntum wine. And the white wines too. So Grüne Veltliner, Chardonnay, and Weißburgunder.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great. So can we talk about Zweigelt, who, the history, the parents, because it's a fairly, new
To us.
yeah, well, it's not a really well-known grape per se, and it's a cross between Blaufränkisch and, help me out, Lauren. Yeah, it's Monday. Just tell us a little bit about the history about it. And
yeah, so you're right. It is a pretty young variety. Actually, it was only crossed in 1922, so 100 years ago now. And it is a crossing of Blaufränkisch and St. Laurent. The goal was to bring together the most or the best characteristics of those two Austrian grape varieties. So the Blaufränkisch is a very characterful wine, which is having higher tannins, a good structure, nice acidity, but there has always been some problems with the final ripening of Blaufränkisch. St. Laurent, on the other hand, is early ripening, is more fruit driven. It is lighter to have a very ripe grape variety. However, the yield was very versatile. So you could have good yields and next year very bad harvest. And they tried to bring together the best characteristic of those two grapes, having a stable quantity and stable yield, and an earlier ripening grape variety, which is fruit driven and showing the spice of the Blaufränkisch too. So in 1922 they finally found it, or they found the best crossing, how to say. But it only got really important in the 1970s. So it took 50 years to get the grape variety more popular. At the beginning, there have just been a few test vineyards. And there was finally Lenz Moser, who was inventing a new system of growing the wines higher on the wire system. So then finally it worked out, and the Zweigelt grape got really successful. So now it is 40% of the full red wine production in Austria is Zweigelt, so almost half of the full red wine production in Austria. In total, of the total production in Austria, it's 14%, which is quite a lot too, because we are mainly white wine producing country, as you know. So Grüne Veltliner is absolutely the main grape variety, and the red wines are only grown in the very eastern part of Austria, on the border to Hungary and Slovakia. So it was quite a success finally, because the grape variety did a very good job in many regions here in Austria. It is grown in every wine growing region now. Some more intense and some less, but it is it is showing the typicity of the regions, of the different regions, quite well.
That's awesome. So when somebody tastes Zweigelt, and I think if Debbie wants to maybe bring back the slides again, because I think it's a good time to compare contrast between your single vineyard and the conundrum. What can somebody generally think of, or what can they expect when they pick up and I don't want to use the word base, but we know there's tiers. So
entry level, maybe, would you say? An entry level Zweigelt?
Yeah. An entry level Zweigelt, and then what can they expect as they go up into the vineyards, the vineyard designated ones? What's the general characteristics?
So generally in the lower quality levels, it is mainly fruit-driven, easy drinking wine. It is, although it is fully ripe normally, so you have juicy aromatics like the cherry, but there is no greenish tannins or greenish aromatics, which you can have with other grape varieties, which are not completely ripening in Austria. So Zweigelt and ripening is not a big problem, actually. However, it is pretty light and easy drinking wine. It's a good food pairing wine. You can drink it chilled. You can drink it with pizza and pasta. You can have it with barbecue. You can have it with spicy food, because the tannins are pretty soft. So it is not really having a problem with spicy aromatics. It is something you can enjoy, which is not too complicated to understand. Zweigelt is somehow everybody's darling. People like to drink it. It is a wine which is, just enjoyable. It is, it has a big group of fans, actually, the grape itself, and I think this is why it got so successful in Austria, or got this big part of the red wine production now in Austria. However, when you compare it to the single vineyard wines and from the special vineyards, it's not only focusing on power, which means alcohol and so on. It focuses on complexity, on more different layers you can find in a wine. The spicy aromas or the herbal aromas are getting more intense. You get the older the wines are, the riper the grapes are when harvested, the more peppery aromas you will get on the palate, the more leafy and earthy aromas you get. The fruit is turning into something darker. It's not the cherry, maybe it's some blueberry or blackberry, so it's definitely darker berry. However, it is still a very fruit-driven grape variety. So when having a Zweigelt, you will hardly ever have problems with too high tannins or too tannic wines in the glass. The wine itself, or the grape variety itself, is always showing a very fruit-driven characteristic, starting from the more red cherry fruit in the lighter or in the easier quality levels, to a darker, spicier, more multi-layered fruit in the single vineyard wines. I think
this is definitely has more spice to it. The single vineyard.
Yes. Already right. Yes. Yes. I have to bring it. The wines are older, so we are producing the Rubin from 15 years old vineyards. It is a blend of different vineyards, of course, and the soil is more nutritious. It is the wines are, or the vineyards are fostered by the soil, by good nutrition, by good water conditions all year long. So we don't have any irrigation in any vineyard, but these vineyards are especially well deserved by all the nutrition and water. However, the Heidegger vineyard is older, so it goes up to 35-40 years. The wines are much more concentrated. The yield is lower, naturally lower. The vineyards and the wines, the plants are rooting much deeper, getting more impact from the lower areas in the soil, which is coming from sea sediments, from the ancient Pannonian Sea, which flooded the region. So you have more chalky influences in the lower parts. Which is actually the main part. So maybe some more minerality aspects, like salty aspects on the back. The tannins are a little bit more present compared to the Rubin Canutum. However, they are still very soft and not too sharp, or it is not. Zweigelt is never bringing these very hard tannin structure you can get with other grape varieties. It is more playing with the spicy aromas, having like a pendant to the fruity stylistic.
I think it has a little more acidity to it also, which cuts down into that tannin, because I don't think they're overbearing at all.
No,
they're lovely tans, but I think the single vineyard has a bit more acidity to it, and it is darker to me. It's darker fruit and a lot more spice. It's got more levels to it,
and I think it's more of it's more elegant in presentation and body than the 2019. Just my personal opinion on my palate. Yeah.
Now I don't know. I don't know if you can answer this or whatever, if it's something that you've done, but Armin, who is watching live and is in the chat, he is from Switzerland and a white glove sommelier, and he says that he is typically not a fan of hot wine, which I had to ask what that was.
Yeah, so did I.
I was like, you mean an alcohol?
And I'm thinking like not refrigerated.
But he said that he had one from made with Zweigelt, and it was really awesome. So is that something that's popular? I don't, is mulled wine or hot wine popular? And does Zweigelt like marry it well, or can't answer that?
You mean that it's has warm aromatics, or what do you mean? Sorry, it's.
Yeah, no, we had to ask too. So we call it mulled wine here. Like, it's warm. You heat the wine. You heat the wine and add some spices. Yeah, he called it wine brulee or mulled wine. Oh wait, let's hold on. Armin, hold on 1 second. I think you can talk now, Armin. Or maybe not. He raised his hand. I said accept.
Okay. Yeah. Of course, you can produce Glühwein from it, but
You don't like it.
we never do it actually.
Okay. Well, he's saying he's not a fan of it either, but the Zweigelt, what he had was actually really good. So it's a compliment to the Zweigelt because he doesn't like the other ones. So.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is.
Yeah, hello. That is amazing, the technique. Yeah, so actually, I'm a big fan of Austrian wines, and I have also interviewed for Super Yacht Radio also one of the very well-known wineries in Austria. Actually, you know them, Leo Hillinger. And so I was always a fan of the red wines also, but Grüner Veltliner is top of the top. So, but from Zweigelt this winter I had a mulled wine, and it was made of Zweigelt. And normally I do not love this Wien Brûlée, but this was so great, and it was a little bit then cinnamon and cloves into it, and it was really, really great. And I think Zweigelt, because of its own structure, is a wine really perfect for the Wien Brûlée.
Okay.
What do you
So-
think?
Can be.
Her
yeah,
dad
we
says no. Her dad goes, no.
I never tried it.
So I don't know if
But-
I'm being poorly saying this, but in my thought process is that mulled wine, my palate doesn't like it. And it's kind of more for a lower level wine. That's sorry to say. And I wouldn't waste this wine. I wouldn't waste this
No.
wine in it. It's got such beautiful spice to its own self that I wouldn't want to do that to it.
Actually, I think it's a big mistake to make mulled wine out of the low quality wines. So, and because of that, also the image of mulled wine is not good. But in case you have really a great wine, and then you can also have a good experience with a mulled wine, I would say.
All right. So, well, I will say these are high quality wines, but I'm not wasting it in a mulled wine. I'll find a different wine. I'll find a different wine to try that in. But thank you, Arvin. Thank you.
My big pleasure.
So so returning back, we talked about the flavor profiles. You're saying I do think that the spice and the pepper is much more prominent in the single vineyard. Now, is this the only single vineyard you produce? Or do you have other single vineyard?
we have other single vineyards, but
Okay.
this is the only one we produce 100% Zweigelt.
Oh,
So-
okay.
Mhm.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
is the 2019 Carnundum, is that 100% Zweigelt, or is there some other grapes in there?
Yeah, the two wines you have,
Yeah.
they're both 100% Zweigelt.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Great. So I've got a question on the on aging, because like earlier in the program, I showed you a 2001 that Zweigelt that we found in our cellar. That we
Debbie's
got
lost
open.
cellar.
Yes, it got lost in the cellar. Does Zweigelt age? This is the wine. It is Shep Moser. Is that the producer?
Yes, yeah. Mhm.
Does it age? I have not tried it. I can grab my Corvan and pour it into a glass, but I have no idea.
Right. So is it a wine that we typically can age, or is it more of a drink now?
It's depending on the quality or on the quality level of the wine. It's like the Grüner Veltliner. You have so many different styles of Grüner Veltliner. Some of them to enjoy very young and easy fruit driven, and some of them you can age. And it's the same with the Zweigelt. I don't know the wine, but I think you should drink it sooner than later.
Now, yes.
For example, the Rubin Canuntum we had before, I think it is great to enjoy it 2 years after bottling, up to 8 years later. But it is definitely a wine which can be drunk earlier and doesn't need too long rest in the bottle or too long aging in the bottle. However, the Heidacker, where you had the 16, which is great actually, which had a few years now in the bottle, and it will still develop for the next 10 years definitely. So you can enjoy it definitely 10-15 years later after bottling. So it is really depending on the quality which is behind the wines, or on the idea of the wine production, because some of the wines, they are produced to be early to drink. and some of them are meant to be long-lasting and ageable.
How would you know when you would purchase a Zweigelt? How would you know if it's a wine to drink now or within like the next 2 years, or something that you want to stick in your cellar for maybe 5 years? And like us, me, forgot about it for 20, but
yeah, this brings me back to the pyramid of origin. So the regional wines are wines which are earlier to drink and easier to drink, and the single vineyard wines are the more characterful wines which are meant to be or should be aged a little bit longer, and which is good to give them time to say. Yeah, so that's the easiest part. Of course, you can inform on the website, or maybe it is stated on the label,
or just buy multiple bottles and just keep tasting it.
Yeah, that's actually what I suggest to people when they ask me when they go wine tasting places. I said, don't buy just one bottle, buy 2 or 3, because you're going to go home and drink it, and then you're going to want it again 7 months later, and then maybe in a year or 2 years, just to see how the wine matures and develops.
You never know.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
It's just a tip we can give.
Oh, I know.
Right. In terms of these two wines, you talked about the soils and kind of the elevation and stuff, but I'm still kind of a little confused. Is this is outside of the Carnuntum DAC, correct? Your single vineyard is outside of it?
No. It is.
Oh, it's all within.
It is still in there. It is just a single vineyard. So the wine is grown in a single vineyard within the Carnuntum DAC. Yeah, it is in Carnuntum, but the origin is smaller. The Carnuntum is a blend of different sites of different vineyards, and the Heidacker is just produced on the vineyard Heidacker, called Heidacker.
Gotcha. Okay. And then do you own these vineyards, or are you sourcing the fruit from growers?
No, we own or rent it. So we produce it ourselves. We produce all the vineyards, so farm them ourselves. And some of them we own and some of them are rented.
Okay, cool.
So we touched a little bit about the levels, and I can't pronounce them.
Can I try?
Giebstwein, Ortstwein, and Riedenwein. I'm terrible.
Okay, all right, I gotta try.
Okay.
Giebstwein, Ortstwein, and Riedenwein.
Yeah, all right.
You're good. You wouldn't know I've got German background, so forget it. But
Gebietswein, it's the region. It's the regional wine, Gebietswein.
Okay.
So what type of the grapes that are grown in the regional wine, or that are in a bottle and it's labeled that, are they from various vineyards throughout the region?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the whole Carnuntum region. Then the next step, you have the Ortswein, which is the village wine. So grapes sourced in this wine are grown in this village, in the vineyards of this village. So we have many different villages in the region, but the Ortswein is grown just, or the grapes are sourced just from the vineyards next to one village. And then you have the single vineyard wine. The Lagenwein is the single vineyard, and there the grapes are sourced only from one single vineyard. And it's not a blend from various vineyards or different vineyards. It is just produced in this one specific vineyard. And therefore, the origin is getting smaller and smaller, So the higher you get, the smaller the origin is, and the more precise the origin is, because it is, as the origin is smaller, it is showing more typicity of this specific place.
Okay.
And would you say that the price would be higher as well? of
Yeah,
the
you
bottle
are.
of wine coming from a single vineyard as opposed coming from the villages as opposed from coming within the area.
Yeah, definitely, because the single vineyard wines are only produced from the best vineyards. So you're not producing a single vineyard wine from a medium quality vineyard, to say. Yeah, so you are picking your most important vineyards, you're choosing your most important vineyards, but you're focusing on these characteristics because they are bringing the most interesting wines and characteristics, and you produce them just by themselves. You're not blending it with anything else because it is so special and so interesting itself. And therefore, it is, of course, one of the most important and best vineyards you have. And normally the vineyards are older, the work is more intense in these vineyards, and therefore they are more expensive, yes.
Are you processing them the same? Are you, when you're bringing them into the winery, are they processed basically the same way, also, or are they completely separate because it's a special vineyard?
They are processed differently, yes. So we have actually every single vineyard is produced in its own tank, and when the wine is ready, it is maybe blended or it stays in a pure form, to say. But when we produce the single vineyard wines, we work even more gentle. For example, we don't pump the wines or the grapes. We destem the berries, but we don't pump them anymore. We just put them into the tanks with the forklift. So there's no damage of the skin or of the berries. They stay like little round berries, and they are not broken or damaged somehow. And this is, of course, more work. It is much slower than pumping. The fermentation lasts longer because when the berries stay full, there's no juice coming out or less juice coming out, and it takes them longer to start fermentation. It is a slower and softer fermentation. Therefore, you need more time, of course. You need to check them at the beginning quite a lot. But due to this more gentle production, the wines are maybe more elegant, or the tannin structure is more silky and more elegant too.
Yeah, go ahead, Lori.
So sticking to these vineyard sites and how they grow on the vine, like, is it, you kind of touched upon it a little bit in terms of their age, that they, but as natural, are they naturally vigorous, or do they tend to restrain themselves? How do you train them? Like, what's your trellis system for them?
Sorry, I didn't get it completely.
So my first question is, you talked about a little bit in terms of age, but Zweigelt as a whole, if you can lump them together, is it considered a vigorous grapevine, or is it more of a restrained grapevine?
Somewhere in the middle, I think.
Somewhere in the middle. Okay. And then what is your trellis system? How are you training them?
It's, I don't know the English word. It's not English. Erziehungssystem. So we have around 5,000 to 6,000 plants per hectare.
How will you do?
I don't know the name in English, so I'm explaining.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. Yep.
Well, what is the name? What is the German counterpart?
We bind them. We keep one shoot with 6 to 8 buds, and
okay.
we bind them to the wire.
Okay.
Vertical shoot? No,
that's up.
that's
So
up,
it's
yeah.
cordon. It's cordon training.
Cordon.
It's not cordon. No, that's a different thing. No,
Wait, they do that for sherry because then they leave a bud with 2 on the other side, and then the next year, I don't know if this is the same, and that the following year, that bud with 2 is the one that produces, and the other one is cut back to.
Yeah, we keep one year shoot and bind it to the main wire.
Parenting-Style.
Ja, aber wie heißt unser Erziehungssystem?
Hochkultur. Passt.
My father is trying to find out the name in English.
Okay. Okay, but that's fine. Explaining it
yeah.
is perfect for people listening and watching. So you're training it to the wire, and you're cutting it back to 6 buds, you said?
Yeah, 6 buds.
Okay.
There's just one shoot with the cordon system. You have an old base,
Right.
and short shoots, just 2 buds per shoot. And we just have the old stem. And on the stem, we keep one long shoot with 6 to maximum 8 buds. And we bind the young shoot or the 1-year-old shoot, which is bringing then the new shoot. So the buds, when they're breaking, bring the new shoots for the year. It is not cordon, and I have no idea what the English name is for that. I'm sorry.
Okay, but
That's fine.
yeah, explaining it was perfect.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So you were touched a little bit about, in oak, and you have the larger oak vats and the smaller oak vats. Is Zweigelt usually produced using oak? Is it new oak? Is it usually neutral or a couple year old oak? Is it stainless steel? Is some of it produced just with no oak as well?
Yeah, so this is up to the winemaker. There is some Zweigelt which is produced with no oak at all, just in stainless steel, to have this really fruit-driven style. We age all of the wines in oak. We have big oak vats for the very traditional Zweigelt, which is aged for 6 months in the big oak vats. Then we do the Rubin Canutum, which you had in the small oaks, but used ones, so they're pretty old. And the Heidacker is aged half of it in new oak and half in used oak. So here we use partly new oak. We never do 100% new oak, but in all our wines. But there is a certain part of new oak. Of course, it needs longer than you need to give it more time in the barrels and finally in the bottle to balance the oak treatment or the influences of the oak.
That's true. I would imagine like a Zweigelt in stainless steel probably would not put a little chill on it would be really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is really nice. Yeah.
Going back to a little science, is Zweigelt predisposed to any disease? Do you need to worry about anything specific?
Like all the others too, so it's nothing special actually. There is in our region we have the mildew, the classic mildew,
Okay.
Which is a big topic, but it's Zweigelt is not weaker than others are. It's not a big problem. The only thing we have with Zweigelt is that is sometimes there's a certain kind of problem with the final ripening, and the grapes are then not getting ripe, but they are dying during the end ripening and getting when you touch them, you feel that they are starting to get down, and then they are not ripening anymore. You cannot use them. But you really have to touch them to see it. This is why we're doing 100% hand harvest, because you can only feel it when you touch them that they are not completely healthy anymore. They are not rotten. They look fine. They look healthy and fine, but they are somewhat not final ripening and getting finally die. This is, nobody really knows why it happens. It doesn't happen every year. Some years you have more, some years there's nothing. Maybe we
So
think
each cluster is really TLC, 111 here. They feel each cluster of grapes as they pick them to make sure that they're okay before they put them into the bin.
Yeah,
Wow, that's
Every single
time-consuming.
bunch. Yeah. Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah. They are really sour and not ripe, tasting not ripe as the others. It's some we think it's a lack of certain nutritions, but it's not completely sure why it happens some years and why not.
Yeah,
So
I
we
had
have to.
read. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's good.
I just going to say I had read that during the ripening phase they're very potassium I don't know dependent on potassium, and there's a lot of the amount of potassium in the soil needs to be kind of, they're picky of how much potassium is in the soil. So I was going to
Yeah.
ask, is that what they think is the issue with it?
Yeah, we had so many, we already did so many tests and everything, and finally we didn't really found a rule why it happened some years and some not. But yeah, it might be something because of that. And the Zweigelt grape itself, the skin of the Zweigelt is pretty thin. It's not a thick, hard skin. It is very thin. So the harvest is normally a little bit earlier, not too late harvest, because this is why they are ripening earlier, the grapes. So we mainly harvest in the middle of September.
Oh, okay.
And I read that it harvests earlier than Pinot Noir as well.
Same as Pinot Noir, and yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's when, early ripening. When completely like harvest, when does harvest begin for you?
Yeah,
Typically.
in the early mid of September. So Zweigelt is one of the earliest grapes we are harvesting actually, or we are starting with. Yeah. So we are just a few days, a little bit other grapes, but the main harvest is Zweigelt, and it's starting very early. One of the earliest grapes we bring into the cellar.
Wow. And we had talked, you had asked, what other Zweigelts that we've had. This being the first Austrian one. I've also had one from the Finger Lakes recently, and actually that's the only two Zweigelts that I've ever tasted. Where else is Zweigelt grown?
Yeah, not that much. This is wondering that you had Zweigelt from somewhere else. It is mainly grown in Austria. You find some Zweigelt in Slovakia, Hungary, so on the border, so next to us. Slovenia, there is some Zweigelt in Germany already, but I don't know much more Zweigelts. I had one from Australia once, from the cooler region there, but yeah, I think it's the main focus is really Austria.
Austria.
And it's like some cooler regions, or we are warm in Austrian conditions, but internationally we are still cool climate here. And some cooler regions are testing or trying the Zweigelt grape because of its early ripening stages and the lower tannin structure and the lack of greenish aromas. So some of them are trying to work with the Zweigelt too. But then it is that can be a problem because it doesn't like very humidic regions. So when you are next to the sea or the lakes where really high humidity is, then it can be a problem with the Zweigelt ripening because the noble rot is starting quite fast. It is a big bunch. It is a very tight bunch, and the skins are very thin. So the rotting can start very fast in the middle of the bunch, where there's too much pressure on the single berries. So when they are somehow exploding, it is starting quite fast, and then you have to be quick for harvest. So we are a pretty dry region actually, and we are pretty dry, especially in late summer and fall season. So we don't have the typical fall season rainfalls. It is one of the driest sessions here, and this can be maybe a little bit tricky in other regions, the humidity.
Now, you had mentioned that it's a easy to pair wine. that Zweigelt can go with so many different foods, and I can totally see that. So, but I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite pairing with Zweigelt?
Actually, pasta with something tomato soup kind, because I think Zweigelt is a great food pairing partner with tomatoes, tomato soup, tomato soups, and everything that.
Oh,
I was gonna make schnitzel with it tonight, veal schnitzel, but I don't know.
yeah. I'm going with tomato soup and a nice grilled cheese.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Oh, okay.
This is nice.
Oh, game
So
on.
we traditionally drink grüne Veltliner with the schnitzel.
How do you?
So, is there anything that we missed? You know, that you think, Debbie? What is your favorite? You know what we got away from?
What?
Our fast 5 facts.
Oh yeah.
So if there's like, what are two? Well, we won't put you on the spot for 5, but what are 2 things about Zweigelt that somebody who's listening or viewing, you want them to know when it comes to Zweigelt, your Zweigelt? I put you on the spot anyway.
Big diversity in styles.
Okay.
For me. So you can really have so many different styles of Zweigelt wines and great food wine. So great wine to enjoy with some food and meal.
Perfect.
I might have to change my dinner tonight from schnitzel to some veal somehow with tomato base.
There you go.
No, you can definitely try it.
But,
So where?
yeah. No, I was going to ask her that.
No, you go ahead.
No. So tell everybody where they can find you online, on social media, and your wines are distributed in the States, maybe how they can get their hands on it.
Yeah, so you can find us on the internet. It's easy. Netzl.com. So like our last name.com. The website is in English too, so you can get all the information in English too. We have a distributor in different importers in America on the East Coast. So you can find all the contacts on our website too. Maybe that's easier now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are more than happy to help you out. I think it's easier now in America to send wines due to COVID. It got a little bit easier. And yeah, we are on Facebook and Instagram. Weingut.Netzl is our name. Like you said, yeah, you can find out Weingut-Netzl actually, the Austrian term for winery.
Oh, okay. And how do you spell that?
Weingut.
Yeah.
Weingut.
Okay. And then Netzl. So nice and easy for them to find you. And at the winery, if somebody actually gets to visit Austria, do you accept visitors?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, of course. More than happy if you ever come to Austria. We are very close to Vienna, actually. It's just 50 kilometers from the city of Vienna to us, so we're really close. There's a good train connection too. And just give us a call or send an email or whatever you prefer and let us know. And we are more than happy to welcome you here in the winery. My father is our tour master.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, bring him back on. Let's say hi.
Yeah. Come on, Dad.
We can do it. Yes.
We can do it.
One of these days I'm getting over there. I might have to spend like the whole month over between Hungary and Austria.
Yeah, we are right in the middle.
When we were in, what is he saying?
between Budapest and Bratislava and Vienna, we are.
We when we were in Budapest, my husband and I took a train right over to Vienna, and we was so unorganized. Like, we literally went to Vienna for the day. We took the train early in the morning, walked around, drank beer, and turned around and got on the train and went back. So I need to explore it a bit more.
In Vienna, yeah. With the train, it's not that close. Bratislava are quite close. They're just 100 kilometers, but Budapest is a little bit further away. Yes, 200 kilometers.
Yeah, but the train went fast. It was fine. We'll do it again. Now that I know, now that we know what we're doing, sort of.
Well, thank you so much, Christina, for joining us. It was just
the invitation.
Awesome seminar.
It was, and the wines are beautiful. And I actually did contain myself to hold just a little bit for a final virtual clink.
Yeah,
so thank you so much for joining us. Oh, Debbie's got both. Thank you so much for joining us and for coming on to Winephabet Street and for wrapping up our season 2. Season 2. So it was a great way to wrap it up. So thank you very much, Christina. And I will say, I don't know how you say, well, I say sláinte, which is Celtic, but
I say cheers. And you say?
Prost.
Prost. Okay.
All righty. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.